The Seven Habits of Highly Effective People is a book written by Stephen Covey. Covey does an excellent job highlighting what he believes is the most important habits to being very effective. In all areas of life, whether it be health, wealth, love, or happiness, you must develop effective habits if you want to master any or all of those areas. Let's get right into it. Habit number 1 is being proactive. A great definition of the habit of proactivity is the meaning that as human beings we are responsible for our own lives. Covey states that we have the initiative and responsibility to make things happen. Responsibility, what a strong word. Imagine the world if more people took responsibility for making things happen. When trying to be more proactive, we must pay attention to the language we use. Here's some examples of proactive language. Let's look at our alternatives. I can choose a different approach. I control my own feelings. I can create an effective presentation. I will choose an appropriate response. I choose, I prefer, I will. Now let's look at the opposite side, reactive language. There's nothing I can do. That's just the way I am. He makes me so mad. They won't allow that. I have to do that. I can't. I must. If only. There's a noticeable difference in those languages. It's the idea of controlling your life versus letting it control you. It reminds me of a great quote from one of my mentors. Now, it might hurt your feelings a little, but that's not a bad thing. The saying goes, you are where you are in life because of your best thinking. Most people want to point the finger at outside sources for their quality of life. Don't be that person. Habit number 2, begin with the end in mind. All this means is to figure out what your end goal is, whether it's to be healthy, to find love, to create wealth, or to conquer happiness. Then every action you take must correlate with that end goal. If your end goal is to be extremely healthy, you must sacrifice moments of unhealthiness. Say no to the piece of cake and pick up some fruit or vegetables. Get off the couch and do some exercise. You're better off walking 10 minutes a day than not walking at all. If your end goal is to create wealth, you must sacrifice things that keep you broke. Turn off the TV, turn off the Facebook newsfeed, and pick up a book or watch a good video on YouTube. For me, my end goal is wealth. So it's my responsibility to read every day, to learn and grow every day, while my friends do something to pass time that adds no value to their life. What's your end goal? Every time you do something, ask yourself, does this affect my end goal? If it affects it negatively, don't do it. If it affects it positively, do it. Habit number 3, put first things first. A smart way to approach this idea is to do the hardest thing first, because usually the most important thing is the hardest thing to do. If it's hard for you to work out, do it right when you wake up. If it's hard for you to read, do it right when you wake up. Things which matter most must never be at the mercy of things which matter least. I like to play video games every once in a while, but if I have something I need to do inside of my business, I make sure that comes before video games. It is your job to learn how to prioritize things, and then make sure you execute on what needs to be done right away. Don't put things off. Those things usually never get done. Habit number 4, think win-win. Mutually beneficial. In any effective workplace, both sides benefit. If you're working for someone, the effective habit is to develop is to do something to benefit your employer and in turn benefit yourself. I used to work in a restaurant and I always made sure any customer in the restaurant, whether they were at my table or not, had a great experience. I looked at it this way. If they like the experience, they'll keep coming back. And if they keep coming back, we'll be more busy. The more busy we are, the more tables I get and the more tips I get. That's a win-win. If you have your own business, your plan should not be to make money. Your plan should be to provide your customers with a wonderful experience. This way they love doing business with you. Again, a win-win. Habit number 5. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. Everybody wants to be heard, to be understood. But most times people don't fully understand what they're talking about. If your voice is not being heard, first ask yourself if you fully understand what you're talking about. A good way to judge this is to have someone ask you 3 questions about the topic. If you can't answer them all, you don't understand it fully. If you pass that test, then focus on being understood. The heart has its reasons, which reasons knows not of. Communication is key in being understood. If someone doesn't understand you, it could be because you're not communicating to them effectively. Understand that most people operate in the sense that the world revolves around them. People take comments too personally and oftentimes in the wrong way. It's your job to find out why they do and communicate to them in a way where you prove you understand where they're coming from. I'm a part of a network marketing company. Network marketing is an independent business model. So in a world where we are 90% dependent, it's a difficult task to get people interested in partaking in network marketing. So most people think they're being scammed when someone approaches them with network marketing. Here's a great response to someone questioning if you're scamming them. You know what? You're not alone in thinking this is a scam. In fact, the majority see it that way. I questioned it myself until I did more research. I learned it's an independent business model because we basically have ownership rights of a product or service to sell to others. I also learned that it's effective when there is trust amongst people. I heard Charlie Munger once say that we are not at our highest level of civilization until there is a deserved trust among us. Like at an operating table, each doctor and nurse is doing their part for the betterment of the group. No one's questioning the doctor or vice versa. So although some people might have presented it to you and it seemed like a scam, the person was just most likely uneducated on the process, but the business itself is as legitimate as any business gets. Communication is absolutely key in being understood. Habit number 6, synergize. Covey says when properly understood, synergy is the highest effect activity in all life. To define synergy simply, it means that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. On a basketball team, the way the team plays is more important than how many points one player has. In a workplace, the way that people work together is more important than the rise of individual successes. Synergy is everywhere in nature, and there's a lot to learn through nature. If you plant two plants close together, the roots commingle and improve the quality of the soil so the plants will grow better than if they were separated. With 7 billion people in the world, we must learn to work together. The way our system is set up now doesn't encourage us to work together. It causes us to compete against each other and to knock others down to lift yourself up. Competition is great, but when one company competes against another, not when one company has massive competitions amongst its employees. Employees that work for the same company should view each other as teammates, not as a competition for a raise. Some great companies follow this idea of working together. Others don't, and they suffer in more ways than one. Habit number 7, sharpen the saw. Think of someone hacking at a tree for 5 hours, and the saw becoming more and more dull. The duller it gets, the harder it will be to saw, right? So wouldn't it be more beneficial to stop cutting the tree and go sharpen that saw? Covey breaks down 4 areas and what to do to sharpen the saw in those areas. In physical, exercise, nutrition, and stress management. In mental, reading, visualizing, planning, and writing. In social and emotional, service, empathy, synergy, intrinsic security. In spiritual, value clarification and commitment, study and meditation. Maybe exercise isn't working because you're not eating right. Maybe reading isn't working because you're not applying any of that knowledge. If you like success, reading about success, and want to apply your knowledge to running your own business, then click the link below. To your independence, Mark.